401k plan has grown to become one of the most popular employer-sponsored plans in America. Millions of workers use it. We're going to talk about what it is, what the basic concepts around it are, and how you can benefit from it. This is the Beyond Return Show, a show about business, markets, financial planning, and more. We're here with Montebello Avenue's founder, Robinson Crawford. Robinson is a certified financial planner who serves clients locally and throughout the country. Robinson is from Phoenix. My name is Gabriel Kaplan. I'm the founder of Wealth Habits, a financial planning firm. I'm a financial advisor who helps people invest and manage portfolios. And given my background as a CPA, I also help people figure out strategies to optimize their taxes. So today's topic is about 401k, as we said. My first question to you, Robinson, as always, you're at the hot seat here. What is a 401k and how does it work and how does it help people for their retirement?
A 401k is a retirement trust. So it's an entity, a new entity sponsored by an employer. So first, start with an employer. A 401k is always attached to an employer of some sort, whether that be a big company like Amazon or a micro business like you driving an Uber. You could have a 401k for your side hustle, and Amazon also has a 401k, right? So it goes all the way there. It's an entity within or sponsored by the business that allows employees to take advantage of some parts of the tax code to save for retirement. That's the high and low of it.
Yeah, I would say the policy of the government has always been to help people retire and essentially empower them they always use the carrot and the stick, I always say. And this is a carrot, essentially. It's a way of helping people save for retirement. And obviously, the main policy tool that the government has is taxes. So 401k, can you help us a little bit decide what is the main benefit of 401k?
The top benefit of a 401k is that you get to take a tax deduction for what you put into a 401k. And most people are using it for is to reduce your taxable income in the year in which you put money in. So if you put money in a 401k, your tax bill is probably going to go down. You're going to get a little savings for having participated in a plan.
Good. And I'm putting you on the spot here, but what would be your favorite secondary benefit?
I might actually put it in front of the first benefit, is that your employer would, in many cases, pay you extra, functionally give you a bonus for participating in the 401k plan.
That's a really good one. It's extra money.
Yep. If you're able to save money and you want to save a little bit on taxes, in addition, you want to get a bonus from your employer for doing this, 401k is an awesome way to do it.
Very good. So then the next question is, how do these plans work in essence? What are the main components of this?
Yeah, I would say the step one is that the employer has to set up the plan. That absolutely has to be done before anyone can do it, right? The plan documents have to be put in place. You have to use certain legal structures in order to take advantage of all the tax benefits associated with a 401k. So the employer has to do their homework first. For most people, they're not worrying about this. If you're an employee of a big company, right, that's happening. If you're a business owner, you may need to look into this. Beyond that, the mechanics, I would say most people interact with it like they interact with their payroll system at work. It's tightly integrated with payroll. Payroll is like the operations of how you get paid. And for most people, 401k and payroll are tightly coordinated with one another. And payroll is often where you choose elections that are things like, how much am I putting into my 401k plan?
Yeah, I remember when I started at my first job, one of the first things is you go into the payroll system and you elect what percentage of your income you want to put into the 401k. Now, there are limits, obviously, and we're going to talk about that later. But I remember, my cost of living was extremely low at that point. I only needed a room and a bed because I was at work all the time. So I just put the max amount. Interestingly, I remember that you couldn't put 100% of your income into the 401k. There is a limit to that too. The employee is contributing money. What can the employer do to help you out? I always see that employers are, matching some sort of contribution, but it's not standard across employers, right? There's a lot of diversity how employers match these contributions. What has been your experience? What have you seen most commonly across employers?
The most common setup that I see is that most people have a matching program where the employer will say, okay, if Johnny participates in the 401k and contributes 6% of his salary, we will then match that, match half of it, right? So Johnny puts in $6,000 for a year. The most common setup I would see is that an employer would then put in $3,000 that's the quote unquote bonus that we talked about. That's the most common scenario that I see, is that an employer has a matching program. Importantly, some people may not be aware of this, but oftentimes there's what's called a vesting schedule.
I was going to ask you about that because I remember one of my employers had a vesting period, and I would say 90% of the people did not understand that. So please explain.
Vesting period means that those matching contributions that you get, and you're actually going to see those in your account. So it's kind of a weird world where you're going to log in and you're going to see, all right, I've contributed this much, my employer contributed this much. But if they have a vesting period, which you should, of course, find out about, you may not actually be entitled to those funds for a period of time until you work for the employer for long enough. Or it may come come vested to you over a period. So maybe 25% in year 1, 25% in year 2.
So if you leave your job before it vests, you don't get that matching contribution.
That's correct. They will claw it back out of the account that was yours, right? It was yours in name. It was allocated to you. It was invested usually, and they'll claw that back if you leave before vesting.
Very interesting. What are other ways employers can help you out in the 401k plan, make it more attractive for you to contribute or to participate?
I'll start with the two other common ways, different than the match that employers often contribute. One way is called a non-elective contribution. You'll see it as NEC. That means that for anyone who's enrolled in the plan, the employer is going to simply take a percentage of your salary, up to maximums, of course, which we'll talk about, and on a non-elective basis, meaning they're not choosing yes or no, they're not calculating anything based on match, they'll put a non-elective contribution in. The example I would use here is that if you are a pilot for Southwest Airlines, the Southwest Airlines Pilots Union has negotiated with Southwest, the corporation, and they get a pretty large, pretty sizable non-elective contribution that is not dependent on the pilot actually putting in money of his own salary. It's a non-elective contribution. The one after that is called profit sharing. Profit sharing is a bit more complicated. I would say it's less common at bigger organizations. You're less likely to see it, but is another component that employers can add in to say, when our company performs an X, Y, and Z metric, we're allowed to use the profits of the company and share those within the 401k plan.
So then the next step is, obviously you start at a company, go into the HR website, you select how much you want to contribute, make sure you're informed what the matching is so you can take advantage of that. That's essentially like free money, right?
The matching is, I've heard very few people argue against, like, oh, you should not participate in the 401k. Even the match is not good. A match is absolutely a bonus that you are either taking advantage of or not taking advantage of. Most people would like to take a bonus that they're eligible for in their workplace. So yes.
I think that's one of the first things I would tell people in the order of savings. It's, contribute up to the match.
Yeah. Let me give this example on that real quick. This is a bit of an extreme one, but let's say that you are comparing it to just taking the money yourself and just investing on your own. If you get matching, you're immediately starting out with, in most cases, 50% more. So at least 50% more, because they're matching 50% of whatever you put in. So you can start a race of two people investing. One person has $1, one person has $1.50. It's going to be really hard for the person with $1 to catch up. It's just it's not practical.
Yeah. The next step is, so I select the contributions. 401ks today have a default option, but is that default option the best option for you?
Yes, this is an extremely important step. So a 401k is going to look and feel a good bit different than other investing that you've done. I like to use this metaphor. Have you ever been to a bowling alley, Gabe?
Oh, yeah. Typically American, very American thing.
Yes, that is very American. I compare investing in a 401k to being in a bowling alley with the bumpers up, right? A 401k is really not going to let you go into the gutter on either side. They're going to keep you kind of in the middle of the road as far as what you can do investment wise. And the way that they do that is that the employer hopefully hires a professional investment firm to make a selection of a huge universe of available investment options and then create a menu, just like you would see at a restaurant. It's a little menu and it has a few options of what you can invest in. It's not going to be the same at every plan. A lot of them are going to look pretty similar, and there's definitely trends in what you're going to see on menus. But the first thing is they're not going to let you do or anything strange. You're not going to get to go invest in your buddy's startup. You're not going to get to mess around with options trading strategies. There's many more examples of things you can't do. For the most part, it's going to be a set menu of, for the most part, mutual funds that are available inside your plan. When you pull up that 401k menu of investment options, one of the first things that I look at, so unfortunately they have this tendency to say, they show you the investment options, the individual funds, and then they're going to say 1 year return, 3 year return, 5 year return, as if that has anything to do with future return. That's a separate soapbox of why they show that to everyone. I would encourage you to go straight to the expense ratio, which should be shown on almost every 401k fund menu, and sort by that. Sorting by low expense ratios is a great way to get a feel for what's available in the plan.
I would agree with that. What else are you doing when you look at 401k funds?
Looking at expense ratios, looking at what's available, seeing if some 401ks are going to have different approaches as to what's an asset class. Yeah. So almost every 401k is going to have large cap, mid cap, small cap US stocks, at least one international fund. Here and there, you'll see something like a commodity fund, and then usually fewer options within bonds. Like you'll see 1 to 3 bond funds, as well as a cash.
Well, if you had someone who had a long, 30-year earnings potential, so meaning that someone who's in, their mid-30s, planning to retire at 65, growing career, not risk averse, so meaning that he's willing to take some risk, should that person be in a target date fund, in your opinion?
The target date fund may be the best option in that plan. It's not always the case, in my opinion. This is, of course, a matter of opinion and not fact.
I think we didn't speak about this, but what are target date funds?
Yeah, target date funds are all-in-one portfolios that are meant to wrap in the nuances of what you just described, which is, all right, what's this person's timeline to retirement, and kind of boil down all the extra outside factors into one risk approach and say, all right, this person wants to retire in 2050. We're going to make a portfolio that works, that's sensible for someone who's going to retire in 2050, given the time from now until then. And then they're going to dial down the risk appropriately within their idea of appropriate as time passes and we get closer and closer to the date of retirement, at which point you'll have a lower risk portfolio than you have. I do want to mention one brief thing. In certain plans, you do have the ability to segregate, to leave the menu, to take down the bumpers, so to speak, on your bowling alley and go invest on an open platform where you can buy portfolios of stocks. Oftentimes this is called self-directed.
How would someone go about asking a plan, can I self-direct? Who do you call?
You need to log into your 401k plan, see if you see anything about self-directed. On Fidelity, I know it's called Brokerage Link, is specifically the name there. I think most providers are going to have sort of a different name for how they get to that. Call your plan provider. Call HR if you don't know your plan provider's number. You'll get to someone who can figure that out for you.
Before we talk about distributions, can you borrow against your 401k?
Americans can borrow up to 50% of their value, up to $50,000 of their 401k.
So you can distribute this money, right? You can take it out of the 401k, but you will be taxed and you will have to pay a penalty if you take it out before the age.
The regular retirement age is 59 and a half.
Yeah. There's a couple of more questions. You can start distributing money at the age we mentioned, 59 and a half. You have to take out the money at age 72, right?
That's right.
How does the calculation work of what money you must take out?
The calculation for required minimum distributions is that an estimation of your lifespan and a
Who actually tells you how long you're going to live? Who knows that number?
That's between you and God, and the IRS. The IRS uses some actuarial tables, I believe, to determine how long they think you're going to live, apply some factor to the balance that you have in your plan, and say you now must distribute this
So I
balance.
think it's the balance at the December 31st, and they use that balance and then you divide it by your average or the average American lifespan defined by the IRS, and you get the required minimum distribution for the next year. And then at the end of December 31st of let's say this year, 2021, at December 31st, you have to redo the calculation, right? Because the lifespan might increase and your balance obviously changes, hopefully goes up. Don't wait until the last day to take the required minimum distribution. I think that's one of the lessons that you will learn the hard way if you haven't yet.
Agreed. One more piece there, and to bring it back a little bit, we haven't discussed the fact that you can do Roth accounts in 401ks, and Roth accounts are not subject to required minimum distributions.
Is there anything else you think it's very important to know about distributions of money within the 401k?
No, not especially. It's a little bit operationally annoying. It's harder to get money out of a 401k than it is to get out of a checking account, for example. So you need to familiarize yourself with the forms, with the website, with the operations of your 401k plan if you're going to be interacting with it a lot. If you don't want to interact with it a lot, like Gabe said, you can set this and forget it. They're built to keep you hopefully on track. If you just put in a bunch of money and turn on a target date fund, you should be in good shape.
That concludes what we were going to talk about. It actually went out pretty long here, but thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Take care, everybody.